Loki. Kang variants ranked by power. Who's the strongest? Obviously, the strongest is gonna be Kang. I just wanna watch this scene.
A ruler.
A conqueror.
He who remains.
Kang the Conqueror has entered the
A ruler.
A conqueror.
He who remains.
I love
Kang
him.
the Conqueror has
I
entered
love
the
Jonathan
MCU,
Majors.
and let's just say he
I
plans
love
to stay a
Jonathan
while.
Majors.
Yes, sir.
Kang the Conqueror has been around for decades
Why,
in Marvel
Sylvie?
Comics.
Why?
He's gone by many names and faces, and the MCU managed to exposition what Kang is all about in a matter of minutes.
Not what you were expecting,
Not
We'll
at
most
all.
likely be seeing variants of the time-traveling interdimensional villain appear again and again for years to come. But which versions of Kang should be the
Literally
most
years.
feared due to their immense
Literally.
power? If there truly is another multiversal war on the way, which Kang will
can't
truly be the
wait.
conqueror? Let's find out right now.
Come on. Come on, let's talk.
I wanna talk. I wanna
This
hang
entry
with
is not
him.
actually a version of Kang, but rather an ally who took on his namesake in order to keep Kang's empire alive. After a conflict with Eric Masterson, aka Thunderstrike,
What
Kang was
the-
left comatose. In order to maintain the illusion, Kang's longtime ally and love interest, Ravonna Renslayer, took over the moniker,
She's
calling
Kang's
herself
love
the
interest?
Terminatrix.
I makes
Ooh.
sense.
Only a strike force known as the
Makes
Anachronauts
sense.
knew of Ravonna's trickery and left her side as a result, showing what
I mean,
the
that's where they're
ramifications
building
of the
her
truth being
towards.
revealed would lead to. Terminatrix sought desperately to reawaken Kang, but there were
Terminatrix.
others who sought to stop her. A being called Revelation brought forth Avengers such as Thunderstrike, US Agent, and War Machine to stop Terminatrix. It's here where Ravonna showed her power and knowledge. She fought the trio, displaying duplication and force
So
field
was this just the
capabilities.
Loki
In an
storyline?
ultimate brilliant move, Ravonna brought
Is this
forth
a variation
Iron
of the
Man,
Loki
Captain America,
storyline?
and Thor out of time to fight by her side, proving herself an incredible strategist. The
Go on,
Egyptian ruler
Sylvie.
Rama-Tut is one of the first appearances of the time-traveling conqueror, though that wouldn't be revealed for decades to come. One of his first ventures in time travel,
Whoa.
Nathaniel Richards traveled to ancient Egypt, and his future.
Yeah, so what's Kang in X-Men movie? God, I don't remember those X-Men movies. They fell down a cliff real fast then. Was Kang in the X-Men movies? I don't know.
Technology made the ancient Egyptians crown him pharaoh and regard him as a deity almost instantly. The Fantastic Four ventured to this time,
God,
as
this
there
is a
was no
throwback.
record of it in Egyptian history,
That's a
only to
throwback
encounter
movie.
the ruthless leader Rama-Tut, Lord of the Seven Suns. Rama-Tut wields the ultra-diode ray, invented in the year 3000, and he successfully uses it to drain the Fantastic Four of their powers. He was able to control their minds, putting 3 of them to work and taking Sue as his queen. It took a free
Smart
Ben
man.
Grimm back
Don't-
in human
that
form
shouldn't
to steal
be-
the
it
ray
shouldn't
and set
be
the
allowed,
king
but
free
smart
to
man.
ultimately defeat the ancient ruler.
Smart
Due to a
Conqueror.
time-stream glitch, Kang the Conqueror was split into multiple versions of himself. One version to emerge was a man by the name of Mr. Griffin. He became trapped in the
That looks
21st
like a weird
century,
Loki.
losing his ability to time travel due to a firewall in time. Instead of waiting, Mr. Griffin decided to do what Kangs do and conquer the
Conquer.
time he found himself in. He amassed an incredible amount of power by becoming the CEO of Kang Enterprises.
God, I
Most
need
of
to
Griffin's
study
powers
this guy's
stems from his
notes.
ability to gather strong resources, like his acquisition of Stark Tower and all the weaponry within. And of course, his recruitment of supervillains of the time to do his bidding. Evil bidding. There are a few versions of Kang who sought to avoid his villainous future, and there are most likely no better example of this than the young Avenger Iron Lad. In his own
Iron
time,
Lad.
a future version of himself saved young Nathaniel Richards
Still
from
makes
his
no
school bully.
sense.
Then he was showed his entire future, and unlike many other variants, he rejected it.
It
He escaped
makes
to the
sense.
past,
There's always
seeking the Avengers
there's
to help him
always
stop
one
his
good
future
one.
self. Returning to a time where the Avengers were destroyed, young Nathaniel broke into Stark Industries and found his fail-safe program from Vision that would form the Young Avengers. Patriot, Hulkling, and Wiccan were called upon due to their connections to other Avengers.
can't wait to watch the Young
Nathaniel
Avengers.
re-enginered his 40th century armor to become the final
I bet
member,
they'll be
Iron
here in
Lad.
Phase 5,
Iron Lad's
for
armor is
sure.
incredibly powerful, maintaining the original's ability to time travel
Do-do-do-do.
and neurokinetic link with his body. He also developed
Do-do-do-do.
many powers of Iron Man like
Do-do-do-do.
concussive blasts and flight. Finally, he uploaded the artificial intelligence Vision into his suit, making him an unbelievably strong Avenger who for once was on the side of good. The Warp
Yeah, he's
World
so good.
event combined a lot of different Marvel characters into one.
Who are these
Emma
people?
Frost combined with Wolverine, Spider-Man
What?
with Moon Knight, and Kamala
What?
Khan, aka Miss Marvel, became Kamala Kang. These two powerful
What?
entities formed an incredibly strong character. With all the powers of each person, Kamala Kang had mastery over time travel, and a suit that gave Kang such strength.
I wanna
as
see
the
the
inhuman
storyline.
abilities of Miss Marvel to stretch her body. After she became enhanced by the Chronogen Mist, She gained the ability to stretch her body through space and time itself. Kamala Kang's run was short-lived, as a normal Emma Frost separated the two back into the forms they were meant to be.
I want to see
Thanks,
this
Emma.
storyline on live
Jonathan
action.
Majors has officially brought the long-awaited arrival of Kang to the MCU in the season finale of Loki Season 1. While the man simply known as He Who Remains may have seemed on the whole non-threatening, his backstory and accomplishments proved to be anything but. Based heavily on lore Immortus from the comics, He Who Remains is the creator of the TVA, the victor of the first multiversal war, and the overseer of the sacred timeline. He's lasted an unbelievable amount of time, and until crossing the threshold, he knew every moment that would transpire in front of him. His defeat, if you want to call it that, only came because he essentially had grown old and bored. He offered control of the TVA over to 2 Loki variants, and did not fight back against his death even a little bit, knowing what would be the result. A master strategist and clearly successful in his endeavors, He Who Remains held the greatest power we've seen in the MCU to date.
Information.
For a long time, Nathaniel Richards was believed to be a descendant of Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards. However, there is some evidence that may point to his lineage being linked to that of Victor Von Doom. Kang was a huge admirer of the Latverian leader, meeting him at several points in time. There is one alternate version of Kang the Conqueror, however, who actually became Dr. Doom. This variant was one of the absolute strongest, and he possessed all powers of Kang, infused with the armor and intelligence of Dr. Doom. He, along with 2 other powerful variants, tore the past, present, and future Avengers apart during the Kang War. The Scarlet Centurion is another one of those comic villains that wasn't revealed to be a variant of Kang until sometime after his initial debut. While he is an intimidating physical presence, the Scarlet Centurion is also an excellent example of Kang's strategic ability. He conquered the modern age, using the Avengers as his pawns.
Roman age soldier.
Characters like Thor and Captain America even saw him as a benevolent ruler, seeking his advice when it came to conflicts. This is how the Centurion was able to pit his Avengers against past versions of himself.
Wait,
he used his ultra diode ray to control their minds,
working for
and
them?
ultimately, the Scarlet Centurion was deemed a failure and returned to his Ramatut alter ego. This is
I want to see the Scarlet Centurion live.
Centurions were created, which had immense power and successfully conquered their universes. These variants of Kang proved to be some of the strongest versions to exist.
Okay, I want to see them all live action.
Lord Immortus was more of an observer most of the time. Even so, Immortus is by far one of the most powerful versions of Kang ever seen.
I love that
He, time and time again, sent various powerful villains from different timelines like Ultron and Onslaught to slay the Avengers. He resides in his castle in a dimension called Limbo, which of course he conquered. He created powerful guards like Tempest, and gained control over the monster Alioth, using it to destroy his enemies.
I would love to have that
classic Kang techniques like mind manipulation on Avengers like Iron Man to tear the Avengers apart
Iron
time and
Man,
time
he's
again.
always getting manipulated.
Lord Immortus appeared in the Kang Wars as one of Kang's most powerful variants, and helped disintegrate members of the Avengers from all time periods.
Of course he did.
Immortus has sometimes been an ally to the Avengers, but only to stop alternate versions of Kang the Conqueror in his quest to be the strongest of them all. As the man himself once said, there's no way for someone who has a mastery of time to lose. Kang Prime is a survivor, existing for centuries, and conquering his way through all of them,
it's like you have the
greatly
cheat code of
deserving
life.
His nickname. Kang is enhanced
What's the
strength,
lottery numbers gonna be
electricity
tonight? 5,
manipulation,
18,
and the
25,
power to crack his
64,
knuckles
7?
and summon any weapon
Ooh.
from anywhere in the space-time continuum. His suit is extremely durable and self-sustaining, and for a long time allowed him to transfer his consciousness into a new body at the time of his death.
That's fun.
This main version of Nathaniel Richards spent much of its time fighting other Kangs.
Oh god, I just had an argument about that. No,
for a long time allowed him to transfer his consciousness into a new body at the time of his death. This main
I
version
just
of
had an
Nathaniel
argument with
Richards
my
spent
friend
much of its
about
time
that.
fighting other Kangs who would seek to supplant him.
That's
He
annoying.
used his incredible genius to form the Council of Kangs, made of 2
Fuck,
other
I'm gonna
variants
have
of
to curl
himself.
back
Together, the
and
3 of them
met
disintegrated
defeats.
countless other variants. Eventually, Kang Prime knew he would have to destroy his 2 counterparts as well. He constructed
I love the
robotic
Loki
versions
periods.
of many powerful Kang variants, which the Council had already destroyed, and became the only Kang left standing. With now an army of robotic versions of one of the strongest Marvel villains ever to exist, Kang the Conqueror used superior mind power and knowledge of time to become the most powerful conqueror to exist in any time, dimension, or reality.
Don't wink
Kang
at
has
me.
lived infinite lives.
I love Kang.